Ciao a tutti, siamo oggi a Termoli con Andrew Giuliani, figlio di Rudolph Giuliani, e Andrew direttamente dagli Stati Uniti, directly from New York.
Yes.
And you are here for holidays,
For
right?
holiday, yeah. We're having a wonderful time with my wife, my daughter, with the Berardis, just an absolute wonderful time. And it's our first time in Termoli, absolutely beautiful. Went to Puglia as well. And I've been lucky to go to many, many places in Italy. And it really, really is, you know, my heart is in America, but if I have a second favorite place, it's Italy, and it's not even close.
But in America you are very busy, Andrew, right?
Yes,
because you are for this presidential election, yes. You are...
Absolutely. For President Trump, you know, I had the opportunity to work for him for 4 years in the White House. I'm actually going to be with him when I go back on Saturday.
During the Trump administration, you work for him?
I work for him in the White House in the Office of Public Liaison, so worked 4 years for him. Actually, the day before I left for Europe, I was with President Trump. I get back on Friday. Saturday, I'll be with him as well. And so we're talking about less than 3 months until the presidential election, and things are getting close. I like where President Trump is right now, but the Democratic convention is going to be next week when they'll officially nominate Harris. Then you'll have the debate between Trump and Harris. But I think this is very, very clear, right? When you look at the selection between the two candidates right there, there's one candidate that actually believes in strong borders, right? That's Donald Trump. Whereas you look at Kamala Harris was the border czar, the person who was in charge of actually keeping order at the border. And the southern border and now the northern border in America are both an absolute nightmare. You look at that as well as the fact that you've had 2 wars that have started on the Biden-Harris watch. Under Donald Trump, peace through strength. And I think that's really the main difference right there. And also, how can you forget President Trump? They tried to kill him. They tried to literally assassinate him. Missed by that much. Hit him in the ear there. And what was his first instinct? To rise up and to fight for freedom. And
Andrew, what about Italian community in USA? It's very strong. A lot of Italians living there, and I think a lot of Italians supporting Trump during this campaign.
Yes.
Also because, if I remember correctly, Kamala is, let's say, completely supporting the woke policy, and she's against the Colombo history,
Christopher Columbus.
Columbus,
yes.
And also, as far as I understand, she wants to destroy the Columbus statue in the US. So this is, for Italian community living there, is very, very bad.
Very
right?
important, very important.
It's very important. It's very bad for her. I mean,
yeah. You know, and I think in so many ways, right? Columbus, right? Starting with that, he represents not just the Italian Americans in America, but he represents kind of the American spirit, the ideal of being able to strive greatly, to have great ambition, and to be able to achieve a dream, right? That's what Columbus stands for. So it's
people that can be, thanks to their job, can be a good professionist and can have a good place in the society.
Yes, and
starting from zero.
Absolutely, and you're
so
talking about
the American dream. We say it in Italy, the American dream.
Yeah, and you and I talked about it in our dinner, right? I mean, it's very similar to the idea of, if you're free of the government bureaucracy, right, of government being too big and tying you down, then you have individual freedom, more opportunity to practice that individual freedom. That's really what Trump represents. That's what he stands for. And in terms of the Italian community in the United States of America, and I can specifically speak to New York a lot, I know Philadelphia very well, but there are so many others, obviously, all around the United States. The Italian community might be the strongest community that has come from Europe over the last 150 years. I mean, I've talked about my family, and they came to the United States of America now almost 130 years ago, back in 1896.
From Italy as well, right?
From Italy as well.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you know.
From Tuscany.
From Tuscany, from Montecatini,
and close to Florence,
and from just outside of Napoli as well, the Vanzo side of the family. But what I'll tell you is, it's very interesting. Italians in America were Democrat for a very, very, very long time. Democrat for a long time. A lot of times because they believed that Democrats were for the poor man, right? Were for the working class, right? Pro-union.
Also in Italy, yes.
Yes, but they've
not anymore.
They've seen the change over the last 10, 15, 20 years. That the conservative movement really is actually out there standing and fighting for the working class American, fighting for the American that's willing to go on out there, or the Italian American that's willing to go work hard and have an opportunity to improve their quality of life. And I think that's really what you see with Trump. I think that's what you see with the Italian American community. And I think also because, right, Trump spent a lot of time, obviously lived in New York, is from New York. There's a very, very strong Italian American community there. He's got a lot of very, very close friends that are Italian American and Italian as well. And so I think he really, really appreciates the community. And so, it's wonderful to see that, and see that at a very, very close.
And Andrew, and about your family, your dad is a very famous person in US, but also in Italy.
Yes.
Because as I told you during the lunch, all of us, all Italians knows Giuliani as a mayor of New York. That he changed the society in New York with a hard policy, with hard work, and he changed the city.
Yeah.
Now the city is changed again.
Unfortunately, it's going the other way, and I mean, you can go back to even a lot of the stuff, and Kamala was not about, not in New York, but if you look at in California, and what she said as a vice presidential candidate, right? She talked so much about being soft on crime, not prosecuting those criminals that have done this stuff. My father believed that it was important that people were responsible for their actions. It didn't mean over-punishing somebody, but it meant making sure that if there were actual problems in the streets, that those people would be held responsible. That way you could clean up the streets. And those people that made those mistakes, right, they would have the opportunity to correct that, but they would have to pay their price. That's actually how you actually make a city, how you make a country safer there. And I'm very, very proud of what he had been able to do, what he's been able to do. And I think not just American city, but I think most cities around the world, if they want a safer city, he left a blueprint for people to see, a roadmap for cities around the world to see. If you want a safe city, then you want to make sure that you allow the police to do the job, that you create more economic freedom, less tax burden from government there. And if you do that, then places will thrive.
And Andrew, we usually say help them, help immigrants at their place, at their home. In fact, with this government, Meloni government, center-right government, we put in place Piano Mattei to help the countries in Africa and avoid that Africans can come in Italy. Help them at their home. It's very important for us. But you mentioned also California, and I know California is very famous also for the, how we can say, woke culture, right?
It scares me as the father of a daughter, and I think about, and we've all seen the Olympics where you have...
I know your daughter here,
2
years and a half.
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
And you think about the fact she's going to be going to school soon. And when she goes to school, will they be teaching her that biological men actually can become women like that? And will she have to change in a dressing room with them? As a father, that horrifies me. That's one of the things that is probably number one on my list as somebody with a young daughter. And I know we all saw the Olympics where you had Olympic men fighting women, and it is so chaotic for our society for people to subscribe to that. And it's so unfair. It's so unfair to girls who want to be able to go and actually create a strong competitive life, whether it's in sports, whether it's in other things right there. And it's terrible for the family structure too. You know, and I know you and I talked a little bit about your time at CPAC in Hungary there and how amazing you did. I heard from Gavin Wax, a good friend of ours. So really, really amazing there. But so much of what that movement is about is making sure that the family unit is strong, right? That we continue to try to have more kids, that we continue to try to, build strong families.
And we usually say, Andrew, we are for a traditional family,
Yeah.
then we are for the liberty. Everybody can do whatever they want,
Yes.
but we need to push traditional family.
Absolutely.
Then everybody can do whatever
Absolutely.
they want in their bedroom,
Yeah.
in their family,
100%.
but not pushing the daughter of the others in
That's exactly
another,
right. Look,
in another way.
I've always believed the government should not be involved. If you want to choose to love this person, love that, government should not be involved. But they shouldn't be pushing it on our children. You shouldn't be pushing our children. You shouldn't actually be in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics mocking the Last Supper and mocking Jesus Christ and Christians, right? That's obviously many bridges too far. So there's independence from government in terms of those restrictions, and people should have the individual freedoms to do that. But I can tell you, don't push that on my kids. Don't actually push on my children that just because they're going through maybe, think about like kids that are 10, 11, 12, 13 years old as they go through puberty, right? With boys, they have a lot of testosterone. With girls, new hormones, right? Now they're telling those kids, well, maybe those hormones, maybe those feelings, maybe you're the wrong gender. When 99% of the time, that's not the situation there. So it's very harmful what they're doing, I think, to our young, and I think it really hurts the family dynamic, the family structure.
So pushing traditional family, and then everybody can do whatever they want. But from government side, from statal side, we need to push traditional culture and also traditional value.
Yeah.
For us, European value, but we have a lot of value in common with the US.
Yeah.
And these are also the value that are the biggest difference with, for example, Asia, China, and other countries for which we are, let's say, discussing a lot from economic and commercial point of view. Let me say discussing from political, from let's say diplomatic point of view. But it's an economic war. It's in the next future we need to fight economically with them, and we need to push also from our culture and our value. And then another, I think, important point, Andrews. It's the war in Ukraine, and also the war in Israel. Trump already said more than once that with him no war anymore. With him there will be the war in Ukraine will end
within weeks. Within weeks. I mean it. And look, and I can speak about American politics on this very well. You think about Barack Obama, right? When he was president, Putin annexed Crimea, right? So they started conflict in Ukraine. Trump came in for 4 years. There was not any conflict. None whatsoever. Period. None whatsoever. And then what happened as soon as Biden and Harris get in? All of a sudden, Putin invades Ukraine, and you have another war that starts. And by the way, you want to talk about a difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris? Who did the Biden administration send to meet with Vladimir Putin when he was thinking about invading Ukraine, right? Who did they send? They sent Kamala Harris. 18 hours after that meeting, after Putin looked at Kamala Harris and realized, you know what? She's not going to do anything. America's not going to do anything right now. 18 hours after that meeting, Putin decided to actually invade Ukraine. So there is your difference. Donald Trump, peace through strength. Biden and Harris, you've seen 2 wars start under their watch. And sadly, I think the world will continue to de-escalate in more conflict, sadly, under 4 years of Harris. That's why America needs Donald Trump. And to the point that you were making there about culture, I really think this election is so important for Western civilization and the future of that. There's so much that's amazing about American culture. There's so much that's amazing about Italian culture. And guess what? There's so much that's amazing about French culture. And all those cultures, right? We should respect that. And as an American, as an Italian American, I love coming to Italy to learn about the Italian culture and take a little bit of that back with me to America. But the lack of respect for those cultures and those values that has been pushed, I think, in many ways by communists in America, socialist, communists, whatever you want to call them. It's disgusting, and it needs to stop. And at least in American politics, and I think in many ways in world politics too, I think Donald Trump is a big solution to that answer.
But why, Andrew, what do you think? Why conflicts increase with Democrats in US? Why there is such differences with Republicans? I mean, it's clear. Everybody can see, as you said before, during the Trump administration, no conflicts.
Yeah.
During Biden administration and also the previous Democrats administration, there was much more conflicts.
Yeah.
Looks like the Democrats pushing more the conflicts, I don't know, for economics benefits, I don't know. What do you think, Andrew?
I think,
how we can explain these facts?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, right, you have, and certainly in America, I think this is true in Italy in many ways as well, and I think in a lot of Europe as well. Definitely I've seen it in Lithuania. My wife's from Lithuania. You go over there, you see the media. The media is really a shill for the Democratic Party in the United States of America, and they continue to push and gaslight many Americans in terms of what's actually going on in public policy, and they want people to believe that Donald Trump is a terrible person just because he disagrees with somebody on something. So you have a media right now in America, and I think in much of the West, and actually all around the world, right, in different places all around the world, that are not actually delivering the facts of what's going on and allowing people to look at the facts and to make their own decision. They are trying to give people opinion and to have their conclusions hand-delivered to them. And I think they've decided early on that they didn't like Trump, and that's why they've done that. So that to me is, I think, one of the best explanations for why America's in the situation that we're in. But I do think if you look, there are more Democrats that are starting to come over. And I'll give you a couple different populations, right? I spoke before President Trump. We have a wine break over here. In Italy, you have to have a wine break. We're going to finish up.
Simone,
2 minutes.
Yeah. The new mayor of New York.
Grazie mille. Grazie mille. But I think you look, and I could go back to the Trump rally in the Bronx. There was one he did in the Bronx, very, very close to one of the best Little Italies in all of America, Arthur Avenue in the Bronx, New York. Very close to where the Yankees play. So Joe DiMaggio and so many great Yankees played there. I had the opportunity to speak before President Trump at this rally, very close to where I grew up, a couple miles away from where I grew up, 5 kilometers away from where I grew up. And what you saw so many Black Americans, Hispanic Americans that were there supporting President Trump. The Republicans in America have not had African American or Black American support. They have not had Hispanic American support. And I think the reason why we're starting to see more Hispanic Americans, more Asian Americans, even more Black Americans starting to support Donald Trump is because he's for freedom and opportunity, right? That's what we're all about. We're all about freedom. We're all about opportunity. We don't want government to be too big running your life. You should have the freedom to be able to go and choose your profession and to be able to take most of your take-home pay, reduce the government waste that has, gone wild in the United States of America, and I think in many places in the West around the world. And that freedom from government creates more opportunity, regardless of what your race is or what your gender is. And that, to me, that's what true freedom is in a constitutional republic, in a limited democracy.
And Andrew, what do you think when Trump will be elected? What's the program for the first 100 days? What do you think? The first point we said against the war. The war is to finish as soon as possible. So the war first in Ukraine. And then what do you think? Then
I think you're going to see the southern border wall, right? They're going to look at a lot of that right there. That's going to be day one. I think you're going to look at the war in Ukraine. That's going to be in the first week. I think you're going to look at Israel, right? And fortifying and re-supporting our allies in Israel. I think those are going to be the main 3 things that you're going to see focus on. I think you're going to see energy independence in America again. I think one of the reasons why inflation around the world has gone through the roof is because America stopped being energy independent. America under Trump was an energy exporter, net exporter. Now we have to rely on other energy, on other countries' energy, and that includes Saudi Arabia, that includes Russia, that includes Iran, right? Iran, some of these really terrible actors around the world that are starting wars. Under Trump, I think you're going to see the Keystone Pipeline, which is a big pipeline that came from Western Canada all the way down through America, being rebuilt again. You're going to see energy independence. That's going to help to bring inflation down right there. And I think that's going to help not just American commerce, I think that's going to help commerce around the world. I think you're also going to see, and you mentioned some of the economic wars with China. I think you're going to see a renewed vigor against making sure that you're going to have stuff made in America, in the West, and not reliant on China. Because we've just seen too many Western companies export their jobs to China. I think a lot of people realize that was a mistake on both sides of the aisle.
No
over the last 4 or 5
reliance.
years.
It's interesting. Yes, it's a good wording. No reliance. On China, but China is a huge market. So, however, we need to deal with China.
You have to deal.
But no reliance.
Exactly. Yes, you have to deal with them.
You need to deal with them.
You don't want to rely on them. If you rely on them, as we saw, during the beginning of the COVID stuff, right? It was a real problem when you were trying to get tests and all that stuff, because we looked and all of a sudden 97% of the tests were being produced in the same country where it was created, where COVID was created, actually. So reliance is a real problem when you're talking about somebody who has a country which has talked about wanting to supersede America in the last 30, 40 years. You don't want to be reliant on a country that has said they want to supersede you as the world superpower and make you weaker. So I think that's going to keep them pretty busy during the first 100 days. But I also think there are going to be other domestic things. We talk about woke. I think you're going to see a real focus on the education and making sure that states have more autonomy over their education or educating their children. The federal education system has gotten way too big and way too woke as well. So I think you're going to see a lot of that as well. And I think for the most part, that's going to be where a lot of the focus is going to be. But I think it's going to be also on reducing the size of the federal government in Washington, D.C. It's gotten way too big, way too bureaucratic, and lack of accountability. Not much accountability.
Yes.
Exactly. And you need to be accountable. If you are a government steward, if you are a public servant, you need to be accountable to the American people, to the Italian people. And we've seen too many bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. who are not accountable. There are no consequences, no rewards if they do something good, no consequences if they do anything bad.
Also in the European Union, too much bureaucracy.
Yeah, I believe
also in the European Union, yes.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah. And also, USA now is pushing a lot Indo-Pacific area, and you want to pay much more attention in this area of the globe. Mm-hmm. So for you became important more and more this area, not only because China, but only because all the other countries is this area, Vietnam, Australia, and all the South China Sea. Very important for you.
As you said, you think of the commerce, you think of the energy that is in that area, you think of the amount of people, probably 40% of the world's population is in that area, maybe more. That's my.
And the economy is increasing quite quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that they are. You need to, as you said, you need to deal with them, but can't rely on China, right? You need to deal with them and other countries in that area. And I think it takes somebody, and I think you know this very well, right? For a world leader, you want somebody that is going to be respected, that is strong, that is smart. I mentioned the story about Kamala Harris before, meeting with Putin, and 18 hours later, Putin looking her in the eye and saying that he's not going to do anything. I'll tell you a story about Trump. This actually has been out there recently, but I'll tell you a story about Trump. And I remember this when he did this. So he was meeting with the leader of the Taliban in about 2018, and they were trying to figure out ways to take some troops out of Afghanistan. Not the disaster that we saw, but take some troops out of Afghanistan. And Trump was talking to the translator, and the translator, he didn't think was translating to the leader of Taliban what he said. And Trump was getting a little bit frustrated. And he said, okay, you're not translating to him? He'll understand this. And he pulled a paper out of his jacket pocket. And on that paper, he gave it to the leader of the Taliban. The leader of the Taliban looked it up. It was a picture of his house, a satellite image of his house. And he said to him, and I'm not going to say the exact word that he said, but he said to him, if you hurt an American service member, I'm going to effing kill you. And in 2.5 years, when Trump was in, there was not one American service member that was killed by the Taliban. That's the difference in peace through strength versus what we've seen the last 3.5 years of America. So, you know.
And Andrew, we usually say strongly, Italy should be strongly inside NATO.
Absolutely.
And close to our friends, US friends.
Yes.
So continue to work together.
Absolutely.
For peace, for economy, to grow the economy globally, and most important, Andrew, for peace.
Absolutely.
We need to work together for
we have to.
For the peace globally,
we have
all
to.
around the globe.
And I think that the greatest solution for peace is freedom, right? It's freedom not just from government, but if you look at all these countries that have pushed for against peace, for war, right? They believe in tyranny, right? We don't believe in tyranny. We believe in freedom. And I think, to me, freedom is one of the things that however different cultures may be, ideals may be, you have to push for freedom from government, freedom from tyranny, freedom from oppression. And that's obviously what America stands for. And I think we learned a lot of that from our Italian brothers. So.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, thank you very much.
And good luck.
Thank you. Good luck to you. Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye. Ciao a tutti.